Alright, we'll draw the histological picture of the submandibular gland, and we know that the submandibular gland, it is a mixed gland, and predominantly it is a serous gland, right? So it has serous acinus and it has mucous acinus, and they are mixed acini present in it. And the mixed are also known as seromucous acinus. The serous acini, which are the bulk in it, I'll draw a little large diagram here of the serous acinus first, and then we will move to the mucous acinus and the histological picture of the whole of the submandibular gland. The serous acinus, which is relatively rounder, consists of 5 to 6 cells, and these are the pyramidal shaped cells present in it, and these pyramidal cells are acidophilic since they produce the serous secretion, right? And they have their acidophilic. I'll not make the whole of the cytoplasm because that will hide all the boundaries of the cell in this slide. I'm making these granules in the apical portion mostly. These are known as the zymogen granules. The zymogen granules are present in excess in the serous cells, which give it more acidophilic appearance, right? And now the whole of the cytoplasm is acidophilic because of the serous property. And now we'll make the nucleus in it. The nucleus is central rounded, and I'll make it's a very large and prominent nucleus. This is how you draw the nucleus in a pyramidal cell. We'll draw these nuclei in all these cells, and then outside these cells rest over a basement membrane, and the basement membrane is all around. This is the cell membrane of the pyramidal cells. Outside the basement membrane, but outside the basal part of the cell membrane and between the basement membrane, there are contractile cells which are known as the myoepithelial cells. And myoepithelial cells, they are just like the flat squamous cells, right? So this is a serous acinus. Now, if you make a mucous acinus, the mucous acinus is a relatively larger cell, and it consists of large pyramidal cells, but and the height is relatively low. So you make a pyramidal cell like this, you make a pyramidal cell like this, and so when they're larger and the height is low, so they're about 4 to 5 in one cell. And since they have a mucus in it, the cytoplasm either appears blue, light, it gives a very light tinge, or it gives a complete empty appearance. The empty appearance is because the mucus is washed away by hematoxin and eosin stain, which are water soluble stains. So you see empty cells with no mucus in it. If it is not completely washed, it will give a light blue tint. So we will not make anything in it. We'll make it empty, and due to the presence of this mucus, the nucleus is pushed towards the side, and it is now a flat nucleus on the periphery, the peripheral flat nuclei. And then outside this basement membrane, outside this the cell membrane of the cell, and between the basement membrane lies the flat contractile cells, which are the myoepithelial cells. So this is a mucous cell. And then when you make the mixed acinus, for the mixed acinus you have to draw serous cell cap, which is known as serous demilune, right? The mixed acinus have a serous demi-lumen. Serous demi-lumen is a serous cap over the mucous acini. So there's some cells, serous cells, which are capping this mucous acini, and we label it as a mixed acinus. The base is towards this side. This is the basement membrane. Now the pyramidal cells, they are the serous cell, the apex is towards this side, the basement membrane is towards that side. Now we make the pyramidal cells at the apical portion. This is a serous cap, right? These are the pyramidal cells. Their apical, you make it more pink because of the zymogen granules and the serous property of the cells. This will give this zone a more acidophilic appearance. And the nucleus is rounded. We'll make a rounded nucleus here, and the rounded nucleus is drawn here in the center of the cell. And one thing more which I have not specified in the previous series diagram, I'll draw it there also. That is the presence of excess rough endoplasmic reticulum in the serous cells, the basal area, so basal striations, and this is known as the basal basophilia. And your basal striations are seen as striated basal zone like this. The striated basal zone, these are the basal striations, the basal basophilia, and it is the presence of the rough endoplasmic reticulum, right? So the